Hello guys, and welcome back to another settings video. This time for the finals. I'm gonna go through my controller settings, including my gyro settings, which are basically identical to those I'm using on the Alpaca controller. So for the right stick sensitivity, I would recommend you guys to use a very high sensitivity so you can make quick 180 turns or large turns very quickly. And then you're gonna use gyro anyway to do the micro adjustments or the tracking. So you don't really need a really fine-tuned right stick sensitivity to track enemies or flick to them accurately. You just use it for broad camera turns, and for the rest you're gonna use gyro. These don't really affect gyro anyway, I leave them at 100%. Then I have the horizontal look boost turned up a little bit, so I can make even faster turns if I need to with the right stick. I did reduce the boost ramp up time to make it even quicker. That zone's pretty much as low as you can go without getting stick drift. On the left stick it doesn't really matter anyway, you can turn it down to 0. I have it on linear response curve. I think it's even faster than exponential or something. Then for the buttons, I use the modifier button, so I hold R2 and then I can use the face buttons to select the gadgets. I found that a lot better than the D-pad. I don't really like using the D-pad. You can also try the equipment wheel, so you hold your modifier button and then use the right stick to select the item you want to choose. That's also a pretty good option in my opinion. But I like the face buttons more because I rest my thumb on the face buttons most of the time anyway, so it's a little bit faster for me personally. Sprint behavior on toggle, crouch on hold, makes it a little bit easier to crouch spam if you want. Zoom behavior, it's pretty much personal preference. I like hold and I prioritize reload over picking up. Then I switched the fire, I think default is R2. I like using my R1 bumper to shoot. It's a little bit better for gyro because it eliminates the camera shake a little bit. And I aim with L2, which is maybe a little bit special, so I have L2 and R1 to aim and shoot. I use L1 for my specialization, and then I have quick meal on the touchpad. I'm gonna tell you why later. Then crouch on R3, aim down sight on L2 as I said earlier. Then the modifier button is R2, and then I have the face buttons, which I also said earlier. I think these are default. Then one of the most important settings here is disable gyro. I have it on circle because I rest my thumb on the face buttons anyway. This is very fast to disable gyro. Now I wish Embark would add the option to have a gyro enable modifier button and also add the touchpad touch to activate gyro. This would make it even better and faster for ratcheting, because then you can only lift the thumb or the finger depending on where you have the tape mode. It's way faster than pressing a button to disable, in my opinion. These are all default. Aim assist is off. Aim assist will get disabled anyway if you have gyro enabled. Vibration is off because I don't like it and I think it just throws my aim off, especially with gyro. Now I'm gonna show you my gyro settings. Before I do that, please consider to like and subscribe to my channel. If you want to see more videos like this, maybe leave a recommendation which game I should cover next. So for my gyro settings, I have it always on and I use local without roll, so I highly recommend to turn this off. I think by default it's on, so remember to turn that off if you want to copy my settings. You can also try players. That's also a pretty good one, but I personally think local is the most consistent of all. Local means it's just your yaw and pitch of the controller. Then for my sensitivity setting I use RES 5. RES means real world sensitivity. That means if I would turn my controller in the real world 360 degrees, I would do 5 in-game 360 with my character. And my vertical sensitivity is absolute 4, so that would be RES4. You can also try a ratio, depending on how high your horizontal sensitivity is. You can go all the way down to 0.5 or even lower. Now for 5 I would probably not go lower than 0.6 or 0.5 at the lowest, but it's really personal preference. If you go like really high, RES 8, 10 or maybe even higher, you can also go all the way up to, I think it goes to 20, and leave the vertical sensitivity just like that. That's also a great way to increase your range of motion. Zoom sensitivity multiplier is at 100% and focal length scaling off, because if you turn it on it will drastically reduce your ADS sensitivity. It will cut it almost in half, which is way too much. Now here, the problem here is we don't have a scoped zoom sensitivity multiplier. I'm not sure if Embark forgot to add it, but that's really a problem because it makes it very hard to use the sniper rifle unless you turn focal length scaling on or reduce the zoom sensitivity multiplier every time you use the sniper. It's very annoying. I wish they add this setting to gyro as well, because the controller setting here, it won't affect the gyro. I tried it already. Then smoothing and steadying, I have both on 0. I think it just makes it more responsive. If you really struggle with shaky hands or shaky camera, you can try to turn these up a little bit. My recommendation is start at 2, maybe 4 at max, but 2 I think is the default, and that's pretty nice. Invert, I have it off. Don't like it. Acceleration, I currently don't use it. Can turn it on if you want and experiment with it. Now I could show you what I used for a long time. Base sensitivity of I think 5.5 and then 1.4. That will get you a top end RES of about 7.7, I think. You can't go into details. I would go something between 1.4 and 1.5, so 1.45. That will put you at around 8. You can also put it at 1.5, actually that would be 8.25 if my math is correct. Then your lower input threshold, that's how fast you have to turn your controller to reach any acceleration. So below that speed you won't have any acceleration. You will have this sensitivity you set up right here. So this is very important. I think this is an amazing setting because it makes tracking a lot more consistent. You can play around with how much you want this. I think 50 is pretty good. And then upper input threshold is where the maximum acceleration strength will be applied. So that will be RES 8.25 as we said. So that if you set it to say 160, that means if you turn your controller 160 degrees per second, it will be RES 8.5. And in between those two it will be a linear acceleration, as far as I know. That's something you could try if you want to. That's a great way to increase your range of motion if you don't want to use your right stick, for example. Flick stick is another setting I don't really use. You can try it and see how you like it. I will show you in the practice range what it does. But they have some pretty cool settings in here, which not a lot of games have. So for example, you can adjust the flick turn time, so how fast your flick will be. Now obviously you want that pretty much as slow as possible to make it as instant as possible. The flick turn sensitivity is also something I really appreciate. That means if you put your right stick forward and rotate it, I will demonstrate that in the practice range itself. A little bit easier Here we are in the practice range to quickly demonstrate the flick turn sensitivity. That means if you put your right stick forward and then rotate it around, you will do the amount of turns it says right here. So I did 2 turns because it's set to 2. You can increase that a lot and that will make your stick a lot more sensitive, and how fast you snap is dependent on the flick turn time and the smoothing threshold. I think if I lower that, it's already a little bit faster. You want that pretty much as slow as possible to make instant 180s for snaps. But yeah, I think high stick sensitivity is the better option because it's just a little bit more versatile. The main benefit of flick stick is the instant 180s, which is pretty cool obviously. And to quickly demonstrate the acceleration settings, I can show you how it looks like without acceleration. If I turn my controller, it will always do the same degrees. It's very consistent, but it's also a little bit limited in range of motion. And with the acceleration settings I just showed you, turn them on. I have, if I turn my controller slowly, I'm not hitting that lower input threshold, so I can track enemies pretty easy without acceleration kicking in. And if I flick my controller, the sensitivity is increased a lot, which just makes it more comfortable to do quick 180s if you need to. So that's definitely something I would recommend to try if you're feeling uncomfortable with the static sensitivity. And also, if you're not really used to gyro, you can still use your right stick to move around just like you normally would, and then use gyro to track and kill enemies. So one of the biggest benefits of gyro that is not really talked about a lot in my opinion is that you have your thumb always on your face button, so you can jump and aim or crouch spam and aim. So that's it for my gyro settings. Let me know if you have any questions or if I forgot something. Please like the video and consider to subscribe to my channel if you like these kind of videos. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a nice day. Goodbye.